there's something kind of ironic about, me consciously trying to manage my image. And maybe, the it's so obvious that I'm trying to manage my image that feeds into perhaps an idea of me as being somebody who's manipulative. Because, I mean, who puts that as their Facebook profile picture? It looks, kind of, it's just kind of an out there thing to do, So in an effort to actually honestly communicate who I am, I think I may have just kind of ironically separated myself from others. Because that's not an image of a real person. In fact, that was a posed picture. That wasn't natural. I did that as a campaign picture, and Rahela took it of me, and I was trying to look visionary, So something's really kind of bullshit about the whole thing. Anyway, so back to the dream. I went into the security office, I told them my information, the other people walked away, and, and then I came out, and they weren't there, and I don't really, and after that some dinosaurs came in the dream. There was like, I was trying to watch a documentary about dinosaurs before I went to sleep last night, and I was really frustrated with it. I was just kind of struck by the desire to watch a documentary on dinosaurs, so I went online and looked at a couple of documentaries, and they were just really bad. I mean, I shouldn't have even watched them for as long as I did. One of them was about, and there's a modern animal that could be related to, could be a descendant of the dinosaurs. Going, oh gee, I wonder which one. Could it be birds? I don't know. I couldn't, I mean, it's just, it was intended for people whose, level of knowledge that they're coming from is being really low, and it's, I've done that before. I've watched documentaries that are made for people who really don't know anything, and literally, it was like an hour documentary, and I can't believe, I'm embarrassed I watched it for this long. It was an hour-long documentary, and they didn't reveal until 20 minutes into it that the modern-day animal could be birds. Oh my god, Anyway, and then they spent like 5 minutes on it, like, look at how the Tyrannosaurus Rex's foot looks like a looks like a turkey's foot, and I'm like, oh my god. But anyway, I was interested in watching a thing on dinosaurs. I watched a really crappy thing on dinosaurs. I didn't watch it all the way through, so at least I can have enough, pride to say I didn't watch a stupid documentary all the way through. At least I can say that to support my dignity. Yeah, and the other one I watched was telling a story of a dinosaur. Like, the documentarians thought that, most people aren't going to be interested in a documentary, so we need to make it into a story about a dinosaur that lived 200 million years ago, or whatever. No, or what was it? No, it was a velociraptor, so I guess it would have been like 60 million years ago, I think that is, that velociraptors lived in Mongolia. Anyway, the dream. So the thing that really struck me about that dream, and I've had dreams just like this before in the past, where it's like I can't find a reason to say no to something. It's like, this guy's asking me to come in. I mean, in the dream he has this kind of aura of legitimacy because he's kind of like in this official security role or something, but he's just a guy. And he has no power to coerce me to go in there. He just, he's probably, I think the impression I had in the dream was, it was something he felt like he had to do, but he was not even very confident in his position, right? And I was allowing myself to go along with it, even though it was something that was really bad. Bad for me, bad for the world, bad for everyone, And like, say, he does write down my information, and he gives it to a supervisor or something like that. Maybe that it just alerts the people who, I don't want to be alerting that I'm on campus. The people who did suspend me, and they'll target me for suspension again, because, or the guy, John Kenyatta, will target me for suspension again because he sees me as a threat to his position. And, it just doesn't help the world for me to help somebody hurt me, you know? I mean, it makes sense to be, you know, to be honest and open and authentic at all times, because that's integrity, but to go out of one's way to hurt oneself does not make sense. And, I think really what I'm dealing with here is really the dynamic that just killed me, you know, which was saying yes to being in a relationship with Rahela. I didn't feel like I could say no. I felt an obligation to say yes, you know. She kind of guilt-tripped me into being in a relationship with her, and she didn't really understand what she was doing. Well, maybe, I don't know, she said she didn't understand what she was doing, but she didn't understand that I didn't really want to be in a relationship with her, and I guess I could have communicated that a little more clearly, but, and then, and then she took all of my time away from the things that were important, not just to me, but the things that were important for me to be doing in the world. I swore an oath to work for the students of De Anza College, well, effectively. I swore that. And I was basically breaking that oath by what I felt obligated to do to be in a relationship with her. I was prevented from being effective by feeling obligated to attend to her whenever she asked, which ended up being, more than 40 hours a week, more than a full-time job worth of stuff. And meanwhile, I was working and being a student and had the responsibilities I really cared about. So, I mean, that just, it killed... whenever I say that, and I've said that to a few people now, whenever I say that, I feel... I feel like I'm making an excuse, I'm afraid of sounding that way, that I'm making an excuse. Oh, here, it's not that I'm bad, it's just that, I'm going to blame this other person for being responsible. And yes, I know I'm responsible. I mean, realistically, I couldn't have made any other choice being who I was. But, if one really wants to know why it was that I was not more effective, that is the answer. And that's real, and that's, it is true, and it deserves to be said, I think. And I hid that while it was going on. I hid it from the world. Anyway, it's been more than a week since I posted my first vlog, and I think I had something like 20 views on it, but all of them came directly from YouTube, and none of them came from my blog. So that actually kind of surprised me. I was somehow under the impression that more people were following me, and I mean, it makes sense that there isn't anybody following me, but nobody, literally nobody looked at my vlog. I've got like a tracker on it where I can see how many times people view it, and there was just one view, which was from me having gone to it. So certainly there's no point in me making this video for people who I know. I mean, well, certainly at some point I'm sure somebody who I know will watch this, or my other vlogs, vlog or vlogs if I create more. But for the time being, I mean, it certainly doesn't make sense for me to make this for anybody in particular. And so there's kind of a freedom in that, in not being seen by people I know. And it makes sense because, I mean, I've been incredibly non-social. I have designed my life in a way where I'm not obligated to continue interacting with anybody. Even my parents, that's really kind of minimal. I've got some connection with them where, I don't check in with them for a couple months. They'll get worried about me, but, that's about the strongest thing I have. And other than that, like, I don't have any kind of... So, in that sense, I often kind of think of myself as being kind of a feminine man. More feminine than the average man, I think, in a lot of ways, in the way I'm kind of sensitive and feelingful and, I don't know, attuned to aesthetics and whatever. But certainly, estrogen promotes focus on connection, and testosterone promotes pulling away, and I'm quite pulled away. So it absolutely makes sense that nobody would be looking at my blog, which makes me a little sad. I feel a little sad when I say that.